Well, I'm Joshua Lynch. I was just interviewed on the KeithAndrewNetWork show. This is an amazing show. Keep up the good work, Keith.
It's Avery White, and I was just interviewed by Keith Andrew on the Keith Andrews Network show. And he did a really great job. I hope to come back if he ever has another need for stand-up / voiceover / actor. And yeah, everyone else should come and have a good interview with him.
So the first question I would ask you, Mr. White, is tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to do what you do.
Let's see. So many places to start. Well, I'm mostly involved in voiceover right now. And I got into it, I'd say in 2004. And I'm from New Orleans originally. I live in Austin, Texas. And everything was going on track, if you will, until Katrina. And after that, it sort of took a hiatus for about, until 2018, I'd say. Because I got back into acting. I kind of took a break from acting when I moved to Austin. I planned on getting into it again after I moved here. However, life happens.
No, absolutely. And for our other guests, what can you tell us about yourself?
So I'm Joshua Lynch. I am from San Antonio, Texas originally, but lived everywhere. Now I reside in Kansas City, Missouri. And actually 2 years ago, I just got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. But for the past 2 years, I was dealing with that. And then just a little over a year ago, about a year and a half now at this point, I started stand-up and found how to make light of that and went into that route. Now trying to spread my word of the awareness of MS and to help people and make them laugh.
No, absolutely. Now, how would you describe your stand-up? Would you compare it to Robin Williams, George Carlin, or would you just say it's more clear-cut?
Mine is, so my main style is I'm a very story-based with an outgoing personality of it, but it's mainly story because of how I start people. When I was a baby, I puked on George Bush. So that's just how my life started. So I just have tons of stories.
Well, I got one better. For Passover, my brother flew up on someone in Temple. So I guess that beats puking on George Bush. Now, this is going to be an open forum. So I'm going to ask you a question, and both of you can chime in. So instead of taking turns, so it's just, I want you guys to interact with each other. So it's just, I'm going to throw it out there, and you guys just give us your opinion.
Okay, well, it's funny. Josh is a stand-up comedian. So I did stand-up back in 99, as a regular thing, but I kind of started stand-up since 11th grade. And I really thought I wanted to do that. But once I really got into it, I realized you have to have material. And most of the time when I did stand up, I just went off the cuff and I enjoyed that. I thought that's how, speaking of Robin Williams, I thought that's how he did it. And so he looks like he does it that way, but he actually has material. And I was the genuine article, if you will. I just would go up there and just have a topic and I could just riff. Right. And so the reason I didn't like having material is it took away from the spontaneity of telling a joke or the way I did it. And I normally did my routine with impressions. And so I would put certain celebrities or whatever in certain situations and tell a story like that. But then I got into improv, and I liked improv because it was closer to that spontaneity that I'm talking about. So
yeah, I'm just starting to do some improv stuff actually, because I'm it says that fun, because right now I have to sit down and just write books and books of
material.
I didn't realize how much writing was involved. I was like, my life is funny. I'm good. Oh no, I still gotta write.
Exactly. If you have, like, for instance, if let's say you have a spot or a show and they need you for an hour, you have to have about 2 or 3 hours of material, not an hour's worth, but you know what I mean? Like they want to, so and the improv aspect, I like that you're taking it because it'll help you with hecklers. It'll help you with if something like were to happen that day that was newsworthy that people would love to hear you put a spin on it. That's where it comes in handy. So even though I understand how to do stand up now, it's almost like a songwriter who doesn't like to perform anymore or something like that. They ghostwrite for other people. So that's kind of how I feel about stand up now. So I love watching stand up. I get it, but I don't know. I lost interest after it was sort of beat into me that I couldn't do just off the cuff, you know? So,
yeah. You know, the same thing, you know, for me, for my talk show, you know, the first season, I was like reading a script. Second one, I was like, you know, I just write down on little index cards or like a couple questions and
bullet points. Yeah.
And just jump right into it. So I like to change it up. But while we're on the subject, you know, I'm not really funny. I think I'm pretty boring. But there's some jokes I can, when I'm funny, I'm obnoxious, so people don't think I'm funny. When I'm sarcastic, people say, "Oh, you're really funny." Well, I'm just being myself. But you know, here's a couple of jokes for you guys. Why can't homeless kids play baseball?
Something about outfield or home or something. No home.
They don't know where home is.
Yeah. See what I mean? I understand comedy. I saw where that was going. I honestly never heard that joke, but it's literally a recipe, and you did it. You delivered it perfect. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, that's awesome.
And like the other one was, you guys probably appreciate this one. What is the benefits of dating a homeless girl?
Something about being free. Let me guess. Go ahead.
I would just go back to your place.
You can drop her off anywhere.
Oh wow, okay.
See, like I can tell jokes like that, but you guys are experts in the comedian field. So the first question I want to ask you is, how do you become a comedian? And for people who want to follow in your footsteps, what are the tricks of the trade?
So I know I've learned to get into it is kind of honestly, you just have to do it. I just started one day. Somebody said, "Hey, go try out this open mic," and you got to just go and then just keep going and going and going, because that's the only best way says following footsteps is that you need to find others. I see like right now, I just follow other comedians and then use their advice and follow up, because it's all about networking and just growing in. That's the whole way I got to know how to write. Now, by meeting 3 people, we meet on every week and write together.
Nice. Now, you can take that question and extrapolate it to almost anything. Like, how did you get as big as you got, Arnold? You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, or how did you get Amazon as big as you did, Brazos? You kind of got to start small, and you can't expect to get Arnold results in one day of workout or a week's worth of workout or a month. You got to keep at it. And basically it's a momentum thing. And I started basically, in class as far back as 3rd grade. I remember before comedian was a thing, teachers used to say, "Do you want to be a professional clown or something?" And I was like, is that what I'm doing right now? Like, because if so, I could get paid to do this. You know what I mean? Like, had I known about being a comedian, oh my God, like I would have technically I would have started sooner than I did. But like I said, I used to do stand up for weddings or any type of large gathering, family reunions. You just kind of have to get your feet wet and do it, because there is no Because otherwise, it's like being book smart, right? If you don't apply it, you only know it from there. But if you can't put it into application, what good is it, right? So, yeah, I pretty much was, man, I was performing in front of like almost every class, and from junior high up to high school. I did the class night, and I made the whole place just die laughing. I was like, I want to do this, you know?
You know, it's funny you're talking about book smart. They always tell you about, you know, I may not be book smart, but I'm street smart. But I was thinking, why not turn this into a real thing? Of course, you can, you know, make a joke about it. What about disability smart?
That's a concept. Technically, it's people really can't relate to certain disabilities unless they're living it, if you will. And
I mean, that's my whole thing. That's my whole
Yeah.
up is really is. That's what I bring in with like the MS and all of that. Really, it's just to point people up to get it. And I will say I have thrown out the special card. It's my disability smart.
Yeah, I like that. Well, to make the connection even better on this this interview, I was diagnosed when I was about 40 with a form of autism. It was Asperger's, and the way I found that out was I was watching a show, and the kid on the show had it, and his behavior reminded me of when I was his age. And here's something most people never think about. Like, if you see an autistic child, you never think about the future. You know, you never think about what they'll be as an adult. You just see that and think, man, they're going to have it hard. You know, when they make 18, 25, 55, who's going to take care of them? That's what people think, right? And I had traits like nonverbal till I was probably, man, let me think, 5, 6, 7, who knows? But I was able to talk, but I didn't talk to everybody. I really talked to my siblings and my parents, but other people, they just label me as being very, very shy. And back in my day, you know, that diagnosis wasn't a thing. In fact, it kind of got more recognized in the 90s, way past when it was to be on my radar. And so basically what I learned as I got older was how to act like other people, even though I didn't feel like everybody else. So basically that was the interest I had into acting, because I was like, I can act. I do it every day. Right. And but I didn't think of it like that, because again, I didn't have a diagnosis. I just knew, man, I'm just not naturally like I see everybody else. Right. And so when I went on auditions, for instance, I had what was my cross to bear, if you will, was I had to act while I was acting versus someone else coming in to act. You know?
No, I agree. You know, my dad is a former teacher, one of the greatest New York City teachers, and he says teaching is pretty much like acting. It is like stand-up comedian, and being a stand-up comedian, because for 45 minutes you need to keep the students entertained.
Yeah.
So if you're more entertaining, then the information will sink in more.
Correct.
I had a lot of teachers who were born as crap, and it was kind of like listening to the grass grow, and I didn't learn anything. But if a teacher's like, you know, telling jokes, but not just say, okay, it's 45 minutes of telling jokes.
Right.
It's 45 minutes of you're actually learning while you're teaching. So you have to have a good balance in between the two.
Correct. They made it interesting. Basically, if you think about all the teachers you remember, the ones that come to mind were exactly the way you described them, because that's how it is.
But I do want to say it makes you were saying with like, because I all the way up into 5th grade was told, yeah, that I had learning disability. I had like the IP, but it's like the socially awkward, because mine was because I couldn't really want to talk to people, but I didn't mind making a fool of myself. I didn't mind getting that attention. It's like it's great when we get that, or like you said, act of it, because I'm the only one. Like I one time tried to be in a like this goth group at our
Mm.
auto shop because I was like, I can blend in with them. I can act and be just like them a bit.
Exactly.
Ended up trying to do cocaine and just this boy should not have done that.
Right. Because that wasn't you, right? You're just playing a part. And that's the thing. It's like I think there is value in being diagnosed with things. Like I remember when I got diagnosed, people was like, oh, don't let that be a label. And I'm like, well, I don't look at it as a label like they're thinking of it, right? Like sometimes it's good to know so that you can deal with something. Like if you see a garden snake and you know it's a garden snake, but you don't think it's a king cobra or something, you know what I mean? Like it's good to label things so that you know how to deal with it, right? And so, yeah, I basically, had I known sooner, you know, lots of situations where I didn't understand that was because of, you know what I mean? Like I didn't realize I was an introvert until I realized what an introvert was. In fact, I used to be like, man, why don't I like being around people more like other people? You know what I mean? But had I known that, I would have not been anguishing about it, if you will, right? I would have embraced. Like, you ever hear people say, be yourself? Well, how do you know how to do that if you don't know who you are?
Exactly. And it's just like, it's a struggle when you can't, because that was my biggest, like, before I found out about the MS, honestly, me and my ex-wife now actually, but before we were having all these problems and we were like, we don't know what. I was going to doctors even. And also we were like, oh, there's no mental, because MS is also a very mental disease as much, because people don't I mean, all your emotions up there too. So
thank you.
it's all get screwy. So all this was going on, and then finally found out the MS. It's like, it does give you a light finally to get that label, to be like, okay, now I have something to work on. But but that doesn't mean when people label it, because I've had a lot that use it as an excuse now. Right. It doesn't mean just, oh, I got a label, so I have MS, I don't have to do this or do anything of that. No, it should give you the label to mean I can actually do better, because now I know how to handle it. And that's how I'll say, when I got diagnosed with MS, I was 400 pounds. I was going up and all that way of it. But then after finding and after having everybody has that first, I feel like, couple months, 6 months where it's woe is me, I'm terrible, I'm dying kind of thing. But then I kicked around and went up, and that's how I'm down 190 pounds now of it, just because of finding out and now working how to go with that direction. So if you want a label, I always say just
use it.
Abuse it. Yeah.
Abuse it. I like that. Yeah.
Knowledge. Use it to knowledge.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Now, actually, I do have a question for you. With you talk about labels, have you ever been in a situation where people try to label you or have labeled you and said you couldn't do certain things? As you mentioned, you are a comedian. So have people say there's no such thing as a comedian but has disabilities? In my case, there's no such thing as a comedian, not a comedian, a talk show host or a broadcast announcer who has learning disabilities. So the question I want to ask both of you is, how do you overcome that? And have you overcome that?
Yeah, to a point, I will say comedy is more of a, at least more open to it because of some. I mean, because there is a lot of people out, like Josh Blue is one. There's actually another guy just down here that has muscular dystrophy. But on the other hand, there is a lot that still say no or turn it away. And my problem, what I don't like, is because people can't see anything on me because I'm not physically disabled. Like, if you looked at me walking down the street, you'd have no clue. So I get more of either, I think people have pushed it off on, there's a limit. It's weird in the comedy. It's either really disabled and we can see it, great. Or you're just a normal person of it, but this.
No, in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, and then it does take away having to tell people I can't do things because of this, or when you have to say no, it hurts to say no in general, but then it looks down on people, and not like anybody's going to go, oh, well, you're special of it. They just no as a no, so that's That's the hardest parts, I think.
Yeah, and as for me, like I said, I was diagnosed at 40, and I kind of got out of stand up around 2005 or something. I don't remember, but as far as acting, I did do a commercial acting class for commercials, and at that point, I was sort of gotten a handle around Asperger's, right? And so I told I asked the instructor, I said, so between us, is it better to let the casting people know that I have Asperger's or not? And the reason I asked that question is maybe they would go, oh, he doesn't show that much emotion because he's Asperger's, right? And all we have to do is ask him for more. You see what I mean? And so her face just kind of went blank, and she says, no. And I was like, wow. And at that point, I was like, man, I wonder why that is. But at the same time, if she took it that way, then would everybody else in a casting situation do the same? You know, like, so there are these stigmas. Like, some people don't like to look at someone in a wheelchair, and that's the mentality she had when I asked her, right? And so it's always the case that it's the person, it's the beholder who has the onus of if something's a certain way or not, versus the person who has the so and so quote unquote issue. And so, you know what I mean? And so basically, as far as acting goes, it only plays a part, like I was saying, about the emotional aspect. Because back when I remember when I was doing improv, we had one particular day, they kind of, because they knew something was different, right? So they sat me there, and all the troupe was just throwing emotions at me, and they were like, show me sadness. And I swore I was doing it, you know, show me happy. And I swore I was doing it. Show me anger. And so they went through all these different emotions. And what really happened was I felt it, but I didn't show it. Mm-hmm. Right. And the whole time, I mean, when they said sadness, I think I almost cried, but I didn't show it. So had they, like, almost with every direction, had they said, show me anger, and then they would have like critiqued and said, I don't see it. They told me way later, but I don't know if that was the point to, you know, I was mind blind at that point. But had they said, show it, and I would have did something like this, and then it would said, it's not there. And I'd be like, wow, really? And then I would have did something even more, and they'd be like, perfect. And I was like, man, that seems over the top, because that's what happened eventually, was that they told me over the top. They had to like almost condition me over the top, you know?
But, you know, it's funny, you know, have you guys seen, I almost said Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad's a great show. Have you guys seen The Big Bang Theory?
Sheldon. Yeah.
Hands down, he's one of my favorites. I remember, you know, they're walking in to see somebody. I would definitely send you guys the clip. They said, Sheldon, just show emotion, just smile. And he goes, yeah. And like, Jesus Christ, that's terrifying. He didn't murder Batman or anything. How about a smile with less teeth?
Yeah.
Right. But you have to have fun with it. You can't take everything too seriously. But we're actually wrapping up the show. It's the last 2 minutes. And what I want to ask both of you is social media. How can people follow you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
I'm more or less on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok is all just at Storytime with Lynch. You can find me, or also on Facebook, The Inebriated Instigators, my podcast.
Well, originally I didn't notice you asked. I think I said that before until you asked the second time, and I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry I missed it. And I think your introduction made me more receptive because I'm on the spectrum, right? So I thought it was awesome that you had this show, and I wanted to contribute as much as possible. However, our constant back and forth. If it were anybody else, I think it would have been like the second correspondence of it, because it just wasn't happening. Because my REAL job, not my REEL job, is I do physical therapy type bodywork stuff, and I don't know my schedule, and that's what you were asking me. And I was like, man, like how short of a notice, you know what I mean? So it was like, had that been anybody else, I'd have been like, you know what, let's not do it, you know. But I was sort of determined, and how would I feel about it now? Like it kind of went like I thought it would. I didn't know about the second guest. That's about the only thing I didn't know about. But yeah, I'd say I recommend people to come on. Don't plan anything to say or do, because it, like I said, had I had a bullet point notepad, it wouldn't have went the way I thought, because look at the second guest, you know what I mean? And I like that. It gave it a more of a conversational thing, right? And no dead air, right? And so yeah, I would recommend it, because people can learn and you know, from each other like this. The more the merrier. So
no, absolutely. Even if you did have a bullet point, and we could actually turn it into a big discussion. Reason I don't like, you know, and if I sucker punched you, I apologize. The reason I don't say, oh, by the way, we're having an extra guest, is because I've been doing this for almost 8 years.
Wow.
Every
Nice.
time, and by the way, I do want to plug that June 10th at 5 o'clock. I would love to have you guys with us. And so
Okay.
June 10th, 5 o'clock on Zoom. This is my 8-year anniversary party. And the reason I don't say, by the way, there's got to be another guest, somehow it turns into an argument. It's like, well, why the hell is it an argument? It's my freaking show.
Weird.
If I want to have 2 guests, 3 guests,
That's
hey,
your show, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't say, by the way, it might be a guest, because I get a comment saying, oh, well, you know, I want my own time, or I don't want to talk to someone else, or I don't know if it will hole in a wall.
See, well, that's ego. If you ever find somebody that if you were to say that, that's ego. I don't live there. Like,
You don't want that.
yeah.
What about you, Josh? Wrapping up, you know, what was your honest opinion?
Yeah, mine is that really just the first time I saw it, it kind of touched me of being special. And main thing is, like, my mom, special needs teacher for 25 years. I coach like Special Olympics for 5 years. So
Nice.
this is all just anything I do to help to it. I see you've been very friendly. It was easy, quick of it. So yeah, anybody else who
Wants to come on, yeah.
have a come on, yeah.
No, absolutely. Now, the follow is brought to you by HB Gibson. If you're into entertainment, definitely check out HB Gibson. If you're into eating healthy, check out Life of a Fighter. Make sure to like and subscribe to KeithAndrewNetWork. We have brand new content. Wrapping up the show, it was a real honor and privilege having you guys on the show. I just want to say thank you for your time.